When you're an HSR player that has managed to survive the slow pacing and superfluous writing of its 3.x versions, one would be hard-pressed to place any blame on you for thinking HSR story and writing quality is on a downward spiral. On the other hand, you'd be quite pleasantly surprised from version 3.3 onward when the writing saw a much-needed toning down and the story beats taking place gave us something to actually immerse ourselves in. A struggle so intense, so vast that it spans millennia. A clash of wills so profound that it saw the remnants of dying nations unite against an insurmountable foe. Lifetimes of suffering and torture that would tear down even the most resilient minds. And yet, not once did they falter. For they are the Chrysos heirs, their very beings forged in golden blood, and the very weight of the world lay solely upon their shoulders. Version 3.6 continues from where we last left off, just as we delivered the core flame of world bearing and initiated Era Nova. But something is wrong. Evernight shows up, imprisons us in our memories, and it falls to Dan Heng to break us out. Together, we dive into the tomb of the Nameless Titan, discover the forgotten tale of Cyrene's journey, and face off against Evernight to get March back before truly beginning Era Nova. That's the short and sweet of it, but this version's story offers so much more detail about the nature of the world of Amphoreus, the paths that are locked in conflict here, the tenacity of the Chrysos heirs, Xandar's end goal, and even hinting at the true identities of those that accompanied us on our journey. But before we get into that, I want to remark upon the fact that none of this would have hit as hard as it does now had HSR not taken the time to develop the Chrysos heirs and the entire setting of Amphoreus. Of course, there's an argument to be made that they went about it in not the most optimal way, as I have pointed out in my 3.2 video, but it eventually achieved the desired results. This is what a story foundation should be doing. It sets up the characters, presents them to you in such a way for the express purpose of getting the audience attached to their personalities and invested in their challenges. Would you have cared about Hyacine's resolve to face the lie that is her past had you not known the past beforehand? Would you have been moved by Cypher's altruistic sacrifice had the story not presented her as an unscrupulous thief that is only out for herself? Would you have understood the weight of Phynon's burden had the story not presented every bloody betrayal he was forced to enact? This is what it means to have a good foundation and established characters. The story makes use of every character at its disposal to show you how much of a cruel struggle it is to rage against fate as a Chrysos heir. From Aglaia, who died rebelling against Xandar, to Maide, who made it his sole mission as a demigod to fight Xandar, buying everyone years worth of time, and to Cypher and Anaxa, who sacrificed their lives to set a trap that would allow the Trailblazer to return to Amphoreus in time. We've explored the world of Amphoreus, understood the motivation and drives of its residents, established a bond that transcends time and space, and connected our very essence to the fate of this world to such an extent it has become indistinguishable. And when your foundation is strong enough to support the ideas you want to explore, you are able to build upon it and let your characters organically take actions on the stage, letting them move the story forward and not the other way around. This can be seen with Dan Heng when he was facing the moments from his past incarnation reincarnation as Dan Feng. These events weren't caused by external factors. It was Dan Feng that decided to commit the crime that resulted in his reincarnation as Dan Heng, which ultimately shows how little difference there is between the two incarnations, since both would sacrifice everything for their comrades. Dan Feng for the High Cloud Quintet and Dan Heng for the Astral Express crew. This motivation resonated with the demigod of Earth, who would do the same for Amphoreus' wildlife, which allowed Dan Heng to peacefully inherit the core flame of Earth from Terravox. As the new demigod of Earth, Dan Heng is the sustainer of all Amphoreus' wildlife, and using the body he was gifted by the permanents as an ark, he will bring them all into the new world. And of course, let us not forget that Dan Heng made the willing choice to search for the Trailblazer in Evernight's Memoria Maze, a search that may have lasted for years, all in the name of recovering a dear companion so that the Trailblaze may continue. But where Dan Heng's compassion pushes him forward, March, or more accurately, Evernight's love, is different. Her sole purpose is to protect March and help her fulfill her wish. She is introduced as an overwhelming, almost apocalyptic entity that threatens to devour everything, even March herself. But that image is only partially true. What we are seeing is the raw, unrestrained form of Evernight's devotion, a love so absolute that it shatters all inhibitions and moral restraints. Evernight is willing to literally burn Amphoreus to the ground if it means fulfilling March's wish. Like a monkey's paw, she goes about granting it in a twisted way, by imprisoning the Trailblazer and Dan Heng within Memoria, while she destroys Amphoreus and erases every trace of it from their minds. It took the combined efforts of Cyrene and a partly restored March to get her to give up on her plan. But make no mistake, Evernight was the main threat of the entire patch. She terrorized the Astral Express crew, tortured countless memo snatchers, and forced nearly every major character to act against her. For a time, she was unstoppable, to the point that even Xandar couldn't do anything to stop her, prompting him to attempt to solve the issue by aiding Dan Heng. And even these characters who don't serve a major role in the current story still have something to offer. They come together, pool their knowledge and resources together for a common goal, regardless of their banner relevance, which makes them feel alive. They still act, whether center stage or behind the scenes. They plan, they scheme, they try, they struggle, they contribute with whatever they have at their disposal, be it knowledge, power, sleight of hand, or ingenuity. Sunday uses the power of harmony to try to extract the Trailblazer from the memory maze. Black Swan is investigating Amphoreus using her unique background as a memo keeper, which puts her in the position to be the only person who even has the chance to talk to Evernight and potentially learn about her plans. Herda and Skrullum put their brains together in an attempt to hack and destabilize Xandar's control over Amphoreus. In this literal war for the fate of the world, there is not one character that we know of that isn't fighting on some sort of battlefield, whether through a contest of strength or wits. And they all act according to their character. Every action stems from who they are as a person. And what better example of this than Cyrene, one of the main driving forces in the entire saga of Amphoreus, who through her own actions forced the gaze of an Aeon to remain constantly fixated on this dying world, who gathered memories incessantly throughout 33 million lifetimes for the fragile hope that one day someone will arrive to break the stalemate. When the foundation is solid and the stage is set, the characters are free to act upon it according to their will. The focus shifts from what the plot is to what the characters are doing, which gives birth to moments of conflict that engages the audience. I do have one misgiving about Cyrene's section in the Nameless Titan's tomb, however. It's shown that every single Cyrene died at the end of their respective loops, meaning that every new Cyrene doesn't have the memories of the previous one, though sometimes, from her dialogue, it does feel like she knows much more than a single incarnation should. I would assume that the reason for this is because she's already seen the endless number of Cyrene echoes, just like we did, and she managed to piece that together. But it would be nice to have this addressed in the next patch. Though this is not something too jarring, mostly due to the fact that so far, HSR has managed to re-earn my trust when it comes to its story, especially after consistently building upon it ever since patch 3.3. So I am willing to wait for a while for this to get a proper explanation. I also want to touch upon the interesting lore implication that version 3.6 hints at. The most striking being the Pure Children of Anasrava, where Anasrava means means Fuli's Eden of Blessed Insight. This is effectively Fuli's paradise, and by extension, that means that the Pure Children of Anasrava are actually children of Fuli, which was shown to us in this version by revealing that they are all women born of Fuli's fragments, all of them having the iconic pink hair. Both March and Cyrene are confirmed to be fragments of Fuli, which would mark them as one of the most powerful beings linked to the remembrance, most likely placing them at an emanator's level once they recover their memories and become whole. Evernight is also quite the enigma, and I mean that literally, as she is looking to be an emanator of Mythus, the Enigmata. There's a cool parallel to be drawn here because Fuli and Mythus seem to be at odds with one another, much like the Harmony and the Order, but Mythus is said to have been born from Fuli. Now, recall that March is a fragment of Fuli, and Evernight, who wields the powers of Mythus, is born from March. I don't think that's a coincidence. A fragment of Fuli somehow mirroring a fragment of Mythus? And through this lens, it makes sense why Evernight would hate the Garden of Recollection, who seems to do anything in its power to further Fuli's objective. The big difference here, however, is that Evernight is completely devoted to March, meaning that if March ever recovers all of her memories, which seem to lie sealed within Evernight, we might see March becoming the emanator of two different and opposing paths. There's also the ceremonial blade that Sirene wields throughout Amphoreus, a weapon that feels entirely out of place among the world's relics. Nothing else on Amphoreus looks or behaves quite like it. It's the tool through which Cyrene and Finon reset the simulation again and again, and it even serves as the vessel that carries Cyrene's soul through each new loop. Considering its design and its connection to memory, it's hard not to suspect that this blade may be an artifact of Fuli themselves, a fragment of remembrance forged into form, binding both fate and recollection with its edge. And then there's the Scepter, the ever-present companion to Cyrene's story, which now seems to be developing a mind of its own. Thanks to Cyrene's endless storytelling, the Scepter appears to be gaining sentience, but how does it know the Trailblazer's name before they even set foot on Amphoreus? My assumption is that Cyrene's influence runs deeper than we realize. Perhaps she imprinted a part of herself onto the Scepter, guiding it toward awareness. It's possible that this consciousness could one day become, or at least contribute to, the complete version of Elysia. Another possibility is that the Scepter's awakening serves a different purpose entirely, to become the 13th Titan, giving Amphoreus another chance to stand against Iron Tomb. Or maybe, just maybe, the Scepter isn't evolving on its own at all. Perhaps it's channeling the will of Fuli, the Aeon of Remembrance. Maybe that's who Cyrene has been talking to all this time. Fuli might also be the same mysterious he that the very first Cyrene once spoke to, the one who supposedly was able to see Amphoreus from outside. While we can't say for certain, the design itself might be a clue. Fuli's depiction bears a Miangguan, a traditional crown worn by ancient emperors across East Asia, a detail that visually reinforces that mysterious he presence watching Amphoreus from beyond. Whether that's symbolism or foreshadowing remains to be seen, but it is a fascinating thread to pull on. This patch's story has been an absolute treat, not just because of its scale, but because of its heart. It put the spotlight squarely on emotional, inter-character relationships, and it told its conflict from multiple angles, showing how anyone, no matter their role, can leave a mark in this endless tug of war between destruction and salvation. It also sprinkled in just enough mystery to keep the imagination running wild, and I believe those threads will pay off in the future. I honestly can't wait to see how right or how wrong I was in my assumptions. But right now, all I want to see is this cast, these characters who've grown closer together through eternal struggle, step into the new age together and face their greatest challenge yet. This will be a battle of cosmic proportions that will be fought on multiple fronts. The Chrysos heirs, the Genius Society members, the Xianzhou Alliance, Screwlum's planet-class mechs, and of course, the Astral Express crew will all converge on Amphoreus in what is primed to be the very beginning of the war against the Aeons. We are on the brink of seeing the conclusion of Amphoreus' saga, and whatever tomorrow may bring, we walk with our heads held high, knowing we will face the dawn together. Thanks for watching the video. What did you think of version 3.6 story? Did it strike an emotional chord with you? Did you enjoy seeing our favorite idiot trio deepen their bond? Or maybe you're like me and still thinking about how Evernight somehow manages to look like she's about to ruin your life and rock your world at the same time. Let me know your thoughts down below because I'd love to read them. By the way, if you've enjoyed the soundtracks playing throughout the video, some of them were made by Lo-Fi Link, who was kind enough to grant me permission to use their work, so please go ahead and show them some love. You'll find links to their channel in the description, and if you've enjoyed my video, please don't forget to leave a like and a sub to the channel, as it really helps with the algorithm. Until next time, have a good one.